and a very good morning, of course, to all my energetic futurists. So today we will discuss about the importance of data in this era. What exactly we do with data and why these data-related technologies, so be it big data or be it database management systems or be it Hadoop or visualization tools and all this have such an importance and such an hype in this era. And on a high level, so let me share my screen. Though I think you're all could able to see the screen, right? Can I get a couple of responses, please? Right. So the term called data, I don't think there exists a person among us who have not heard of this particular word called data. So why it has got such significance these days, right? So whatever we do in our day-to-day life will eventually lead to formation of certain kind of data. Now, let's say if you're talking with your family or with your friends, right? So through your phone or through any kind of portal available, so you are generating some kind of data, right? So data in sense at what time you have called, at what time you have stopped talking, right? I mean, when the call ended, right? So how many minutes, how many towers have been involved in making your communication strict or fine, right? So this kind of data is being generated, and all this being tracked by your whatever, right? And be it now, let's say if you're traveling in a train, you're generating certain data, how many passengers are going in this train and which person have been allocated to which berth, right? And all this being tracked by your Indian Railways government, right? So now let's say if you're doing some shopping, right? So you're being tracked, your search history, your browsing history, even guys. So when we are in sleep, right? So we have our ACs on, we have our fans on, right? So again, we are creating some kind of data about our power consumption, right? So the electricity board is getting capture all this kind of data, and eventually, obviously, right? So our electricity bill will be generated based on that, our power usage, right? Even when we are in sleep, so we are not, avoiding creation of data. So taking all this in this account, these are just a few of the sample what we have discussed, right? So taking all this into account, so we are generating lot of data, right? So and uh, internet being available for all of us, to be very specific, in cheap, right? So a lot of data is being generated. It is being noted that in the last 2 year itself, we have generated data which is equal to the data which was generated in the last 1 century. So there is no exaggeration in that, right? So now let us take a scenario where 10 years back we hardly have phones, right? We hardly have laptops and computers. So now I don't think there exists a house without a laptop. There don't exist a home without a smartphone, right? So data is getting generated very rapidly. I mean to say in a larger scale on an exponential note, right? So basically, we are getting all these kind of data being generated. So what can we do using data is the question, right? So now let's say if you are a sales manager of an e-commerce portal and you want to analyze your share of the sales among different states, right? So you will just pull out the data saying, oh, okay, this particular state is performing very well, and in this particular state, my sales are very less. So what can I do to increase my sale, right? So now let's say if you are planning for now let's say take an example of Flipkart. So Flipkart, it says big billion day once in a year, right? So it has to assess customers or what could be the pressure or on the server hits, right? So based on your past performance or your past experience, right? So all these needs to be tracked somewhere to assess something, right? Now let's say if you're a doctor, if you want to say that this particular tumor will definitely leads to cancer based on just a CT scan or the reports coming out from MRI, right? So that kind of analysis. And even now let's say if you're a stockbroker, you want to analyze which particular stock will grow in this particular month and what could be the trend of this particular stock in this month based on your past analysis, right? So for all these kind of things, we just need data. All right, let me change my tone. Yes, we need lot of data. Yes, data is there. Data is there available, being generated every second, every microsecond, right? So now the question is how to utilize it, and before that, where exactly will I get data? That's the question, right? So even when we have something, we keep that at a store place. Now let's say you have your geometry equipment, scale, protractor and all these things, you put them in your geometry box, right? So the same is the case. So you have data getting generated enormously, so you have to save them at some place. So what are that called? So those are called databases. Those are called databases, right? So how many databases are there? So is there any difference? Yeah, we will discuss about them, but in particular we will focus mostly on relational databases and few of NoSQLs. So don't get confused, or don't get overwhelmed that you are listening of too many of technical terms or something. I recommend you to note down a few key terms which you are not aware of. So that will definitely help you people to make an take an learning from this session or do some homework to understand what those terms or what those technologies are in detail. So I strictly recommend that. So it's all up to you guys. Okay. So moving on. So we have seen the importance of data, what can be done using data, and we are trying to understand where exactly the data is being stored, right? So we have different kinds of databases. So be it object oriented, be it hierarchical, be it graph oriented, or be it relational databases, all these things, right? So we primarily focus on relational databases and few of the NoSQLs. Okay. So what exactly is a relational database? What exactly is a relational database? So how the data will be stored in relational databases, right? So we have different kinds of relational databases. So before we try to understand how data will be stored in relational database, we will try to see different kinds of relational databases available. So we have SQL Server, we have Oracle, we have MySQL, we have PostgreSQL. Some of these databases might be in your course curriculum as well, right? Right. So in which format does all my data will be stored? Okay. So let me show a particular database. Let me show you a real-time database. Okay. So, right. So as we thought, data should be stored in database to make that available for my analysis in future, right? Or my future use in particular. So how the database will be stored? In relational databases, database will be stored in the form of tables. The table in sense, you have to imagine an Excel sheet. Okay. So now let's say I have an Excel sheet. sorry, right? So I have an Excel sheet. I have certain kind of data in format, right? So I have formatted this properly. I have an employee ID or an mail IDs or whatever. I have a certain amount and what is the date, something, right? So this particular data was saved in a structured way, correct? The structure in sense we have a different rows, row number 2, row number 3, and all this. We have different columns, column A, column B, column C, column D, and column E, right? So there is actually a structure assigned, structure in the form of rows and columns, right? So this complete thing, the combination of rows and columns, we call this as an table, right? So let us see, for instance, so basically I have created a database called demo. So this I am using SQL Server 2017 version, and Azure Data Studio is my GUI. So you have a box. Now let's say database itself is an physical entity, right? Now let's say you have an hard disk in your system, right? If you're using a desktop or a laptop, so you have an hard disk config. Now let's think you're saving some songs or movies or your study material, whatever. All these things will be physically stored somewhere. What is that? Hard disk, right? So here also you are trying to save some data. You are trying to put in data into a structured way, and you're trying to save that somewhere. What is that? That is database. So obviously that database also should be associated with a particular system or a particular hard disk where actually the data goes and sits physically, right? So that is actually the database, the server machine, where actually you connect to that remotely and you save the data there. Okay. So I'm talking in production perspective, production in sense the real-time perspective, right? You will not save the data in your local machine. You have a hard disk installed in your local machines too, but you will not save that data in your local machine. In a production environment, you have a secured box, so it will having a strict firewalls to in order not to get breached with the security, right? So we have a system and we are saving something over there. We connect to that database or to that particular system remotely. Okay. So coming back, so I have created a demo database. Okay. So there is an option of seeing what are all the tables available in this particular database. Okay. So let's for now we will not go and look at these. So what views are, what synonyms are, that is another day topic when we discuss something technically, right? So and even you will definitely learn all these things in your curriculum, right? So tables, I have created a table called student. So in my student table I have created specific columns. Okay, I have given my ID to a particular student and which particular house or which particular group that person belongs to. So during our schooling, we used to have the yellow house, blue house, green and red. So wherein all of us have been segregated among different groups, right? The same is the case here. So we are capturing the name of that person, gender of that person, height of that person, and now let's say if they are playing football or hockey, I'm just capturing how many goals did that person score. Okay. So select is like your print. I think you all might have studied your C and C++ by now. So we use a print statement there to print something, right? In SQL or in RDBMS, we print something using select statement. Now, when I say star, it prints everything. Okay. So from students table, from where? From students table. Okay. So let me try to run this query, right? So I have stored some data. So let's now discuss how the data is being inserted, right? So I have stored for whom I have captured the data, right? So here we discussed, so we have specific columns, and we have certain number of rows, right? So, and on a high level, if you see, this definitely looks like a table, right? So the data is being saved in tabular form. So what is this select star from students? So you will use different languages to communicate or to do something what you intend to do, right? So you use certain kind of syntaxes in your C, right? So in C++, you use certain kind of syntaxes. In Python, you use certain kind of syntaxes, right? I'm sorry, guys. So the same is the case with database. So what kind of language does the database understand? So that is SQL, your query language, structured query language they call, right? So we use SQL to communicate with database what we intend to do. Now let's say my intention is to print all the data available in students. So how do I communicate this way? Select star from students, okay? So there are certain syntaxes where you have to learn and certain kind of logics where you have to learn to meet your requirement or to meet the industry requirement, okay? So this is all the your relational database. So I just want to reiterate on two things. Relational databases saves data in the form of tables. The tables include rows and columns. Okay. Now let's say, I think every one of us are using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these things, right? The social portals, what we call, right? So now when you log into Facebook, you will just on top, you will see a notification you will open and you will see all the notifications. If your comment is being liked by someone or commented by someone, or your friend's comment is liked by your common friend, right? Or if if a photo or a video shared by you is also shared by someone else, right? So you will get all this kind of notifications, right? So even to bring up the notifications, your data should be there, right? So whenever you log in, it's try to retrieve something from database and put it in form of notifications, right? Now see here we have a linear relation, right? So linear in sense, so for particular roll number one, so whose name is Ram, he belongs to yellow house, male, height, and number of goals. Now let's assume this particular person was there in Facebook, right? So now he liked something, some video, okay? So again, you will have another column called like yes or no, from whom, there is a common friend, again. So that is being shared, like was that post which was there, which this person liked, was commented by a common friend, again. So the complexity goes on, right? So when you think of putting all this complexity or all these relations, a multi-relation in a particular relational database, which is in a form of a structured way. So obviously your data will be grown like anything, right? And the other thing is you waste a lot of space, because when you say like, you have another column called like, another column called comment, another column called share, right? So you another column called comments, and you save the comments also, right? So comments, it could be a varchar. So every time you save the data, every time, even though the data is not there in that particular column, so obviously you happen to consume some hard disk space, right? So there you are wasting some hard disk, which in fact in this era is not permittable, because you have a lot of data, loads and loads, petabytes, gigabytes, petabytes, zettabytes of data pulling in every day. So you cannot take a risk of wasting such kind of data. And moreover, if your business is completely dynamic, today I give an option of like, tomorrow I want to give an option called, right? So again, if you are using the relational databases, obviously you have to change the structure of your table, right? So you have to add one more column called dislike, right? So and you have to capture whether that person disliked this comment or not, requirements are completely dynamic, right? So these relational databases have a bit of disadvantage in that regard, right? So what can we do? So should I go ahead with relational databases, saving all my data and taking all the headache or pain, what I'm trying to face now, right? So, or should I develop something which actually takes care of all these things, takes care of my dynamic business requirements, right? So, so we call something called NoSQLs, NoSQL databases, right? So why NoSQL? In sense, NoSQL stands for not only SQL, right? So since decades, we have been following this relational database concepts, okay? So, and we are using the SQL language to communicate with that relational databases, right? So now we are trying to avoid the sequential databases or RDBMS, and slowly we are trying to migrate towards NoSQL. NoSQL in sense, going forward, I am not going to use SQL to communicate with my database. That is the reason they have termed the language called NoSQL. Okay, so NoSQL databases they call, and we have an Cypher query language they call CQL for to communicate with the NoSQL databases. Okay, so now there are different kinds of NoSQL databases, right? So there are graph databases or hierarchical databases or columnar databases, document databases, right? So I just want you to note down all these things, because at least on a high level, I just want you people to learn about a two-liner or three-liner about all these concepts, guys. Okay. So now let us see how the NoSQL looks like. Let us see how the NoSQL looks like. So I have a Neo4j installed in my machine. I'll try to show that. Okay. So, so this is Neo4j for us. Right. So I have already tried to install where it includes all the majority of the English movies, and who is the actor and who directed it and all this stuff. Okay. So now let's say, let me try to run a particular query. Okay. See, we got something fancy. We got something fancy. I wrote a query saying, get all the movies in which Tom Hanks have acted, right? Or Tom Hanks is associated with, right? So if you see here, we have a lot of movies in which Tom Hanks have acted. Okay, the Sleepless or the Cloud Atlas or the Green Mile or Apollo 13, Castaway. So all these movies, and this particular movie, That Thing You Do. So he have acted and directed too. So we have these edges, right? So in journal terminology, they call these as nodes or vertexes, the blue colored ones, and these paths they call as an edges. Okay. Now let us try to do something else. So I click on Sleepless and I just click on the relations of Sleepless, right? Boom, we got something. We got something here, right? So when I click on Sleepless and when I clicked on the relation of people who are associated with Sleepless movie, so there are a few other actors called Bill Pullman who have acted in this, and we have Nora directed this, right? So and we have another all these relations, right? We have a Victor Garber. So assume these things with the example what we spoke now, right? So we have a tweet or we have a comment, right? So someone has acted on it. What is that action? Liked. Who can view this? The friends of this particular person. Okay. So when you click on this, you will get all the relations of friends coming up here, right? So it is easy for us to tell our user interface that, hey, all these persons have been involved or should be notified with this particular notification, right? So just put all these notifications in their inboxes, right? It makes more sense, right? So the data will be not saved in the form of this. Okay, this is just an GUI, so which actually shows some our relations beautifully. So we have something, or data will be stored something like this, which is semi-structured JSON. Okay, so this is NoSQL for us. Now, even if you say, now let's say you're adding one more column called produced by. Okay, you will just add an relation called produced by, and you will just give that particular person name, right? And then when you refresh it, and when you see the Sleepless movie will have another edge called produced by, and you will get that person's name, right? Isn't it that easy? Because here you are dynamically, you have an option of including your newer columns or newer entities whenever you want or whenever you wish on fly, right? But taking this kind of scenario with relational databases makes you a bit difficult and makes you to work much more harder, because there you have to form a structured data, right? And now the data is not always structured. For instance, we have mails, we have tweets, right? So we have audio clips, video clips, right? So all are structured. So they are semi-structured or unstructured data, but still we want to save them somewhere, right? So the NoSQLs give a much more essence or much more comfortableness to user. So it all, guys, it's all depends on your use, right? Now let's say if you are into banking sector where your changes comes up hardly in a decade, right? So there obviously you can go ahead and use your relational databases instead of using NoSQL or NoSQL databases. Okay, so it's all depends on your real-time requirement. So how exactly you want to do, what is the easier way, and how better I can save the data in my databases. So based on your business use case, you can have an option of choosing between NoSQLs or SQLs, right? I think all this makes sense, right? So we have seen what the relational databases are and how the data is being stored in relational databases with a live example, and we have seen the NoSQL part too, right? So now I have saved my data, right? So what can I do after saving my data? After saving my data, what can I do, right? So ultimately, as we have heard or as we have seen the earlier use cases, you want to analyze on your sales data, you want to analyze on your stock market data, right? So you want to do some analysis. Obviously, every manager tries to improve the business. Every CEO, right? Every high-level managers wants their business to shoot up like anything, obviously, right? So in order to do that, they need to do some analysis. They have to prepare for something. They have to prepare for future, right? The companies which did not prepare for future have extinguished. Have extinguished. I don't want to call out, but we have few companies like, right, earlier we have a Nokia company which is very famous for all our non-featured phones, but now Nokia is nowhere. So we have Android machines coming up. You have Android phones. We have OnePlus or Apple and iPhones and all this. Right now, Nokia is also shifting towards your Android versions. Right. So you have to be future ready. So for that, we have to analyze something. So to analyze, we need some data. So now all that being said, we have data somewhere. Now, how you can do analysis? How you can do analysis, right? So now we have data being saved in some databases, right? So now we data warehouses. So what is the data warehouse? We have few data warehouses, right? So what is the importance of data warehouse? Now that we have a historical data, so we have data of 2019, 2018, 2017, from 2000 to 2020. So based on this, you want to, based on the statistics, you want to build up your business, or you want to expect something which is going to happen in future, and you want to be ready for that, right? So your database obviously will have a limited hard disk, right? So data warehouses allows you to dump in the historical data elsewhere. Now, let's say even when you have acquired something over the years, now let's say in 2010, company ABC have acquired company XYZ, right? So now I owns company ABC and company XYZ both, right? I cannot build up my future business analyzing these two databases or these two data separately, right? So I want to club it everything, I want to, and then analyze, right? So you have different databases over here. You have to bring all of them into one particular warehouse. The warehouse is a general term where we dump in all the things, right? So even our houses have warehouses, companies have warehouses, so where they dump all the things, right? Even when you order something or in Amazon or Flipkart or whatever, so all the products will come into their warehouses at their local places, and then from there, from the warehouses, the products will be distributed by salespersons, sorry, the executives, distributive executives, right? The same is the case, the data warehouse, right? So here we should have certain kind of data warehouse knowledge, right? So now we we have different databases, and all the data is being dumped into a particular database. How should I dump the data, right? So for that we have ETL tools. ETL tools, what they does, they extract something, they transform something, and they load something. The ETL stands for that. They extract something, transform something, load something. What is that something? Obviously data. We are dealing with data, right? So we extract the data from the databases. So be it SQL Server, or be it your Excel, Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Access, or be it your Oracle database, or be it your NoSQL databases like Neo4j, Cassandra, MongoDB, all these things, right? So you extract data and transform something in sense. Now let's take a classical example. One particular company which you have acquired is tracking the uh, price of a product in integer way. It is not capturing with respect to decimals. Okay, your current company is capturing your price with respect to decimals, right? So ultimately, to analyze, you want something to be captured in decimals, right? So you have to transform the integer into your decimal, and then do some transformation actions. So this is just a vague example, but there's a lot of transformation things will happen, but on a high level. So, and then you transform something and you load all that transformed data into your data warehouse, right? So there you should have the data warehouse knowledge. So you should have the ETL tools. So there are different kind of ETL tools. We have Informatica, we have data stage, right? We have data stage. So we have different kinds of ETL tools which does all these things. Okay, so now we have the data, we have saved the data. To do some analysis, we are dumping all the data into your data warehouses. Okay, so now from the data warehouse, you want to build some reports to analyze what is my uh, total sum of sales in particular region or in particular category. So category in sense, in furniture, how much my company have sold, right? So if I see that, oh, okay, my sales are too less, so obviously I need to take some action. Your CEO cannot go and check the database in particular, right? So all of us even, so when we have some pictorial representation of data, so it is easy for us to take some action, right? So to do that, so we have reporting tools, right? So we have reporting tools. I have an luxury of showing a reporting tool called Tableau. The Tableau is one of the most commonly used reporting tool, and it has got a lot of features and a lot of scope in it to learn, right? So I'll just put out a small example. Now let's say if you are a visualization developer, if you are a reporting developer, So now you have some data in your databases or you are in your data warehouse. Now you want to pull some analysis stuff, right? So now let's say I want to analyze my sales in different regions, okay, in different categories. Okay, for instance, you take categories. Where is that? Yeah. So now I got different categories. Okay. The initial load will take time, guys. Just hold on for a minute. Right. So I have three different categories: the furniture, office supplies, and technology. Right. So when I expand, I'll try to expand this. So I have different subcategories in my furniture. The furniture is having bookcases, chairs, furnishings, and tables. The office supplies likely are having different kind of subcategories. I just want to see how the sales are behaving in each of my subcategory. Now let's say I'll try to pull my sales and put it on columns. Okay, I'll just try to get it in a descending order of sale, right? See, now I can definitely take in action, right? So in furnitures, I am trying, my company is selling more number of chairs, right? And less number of furnishings. Now, if I want to do some improvement in my sales for furnishings, right? So I can take my action because you came to know that your furnishings sales are too low, right? The same is the case with office supplies. So the fasteners, you are having very less number of sales, right? So obviously you are trying to get the total number of sales or the amount of sales in which in the fastness which falls under the category called the office supplies, right? So likely, so if you want to see on which year that does this order date, let me try to pull order date, right? So now see in 2016 my chairs are having this much amount of sale. What is the sale? I'll try to pull the sale in descriptive way. Now see here. So now in 2019 my sales of chairs are more, which falls under the category of furnitures, right? So I have different actions being taken here, right? So I can color it and say, oh, okay, so if my sales are good, color it dark. If my sales are less, color it light, right? So just for a pictorial representation, right? So here you have a lot of sale, so it is becoming darker. Now, in few scenarios, you have lesser number of sales, right? So see here you have lesser number of sale, so obviously your color denotation is light. So using these kind of visualization tools, you can get into your conclusions, saying, oh, okay, so now into of chairs are less. In 2017, it is bit more, and 2019 it has shooted up enormously, right? So what is the reason for this enormous growth? Does work from home came into picture, or people why the chairs have been purchased more? So can this kind of sale can I expect that in future, right? So this kind of analysis stuff you can get into by using your basic fundamental visualization tools, right? So now we got these tools. As I said, now the data is being grown enormously, right? So now your hard disk should save, right? So we have to increase our RAM. The more and more the data we are getting, see the ROM, sorry, the more and more data we are getting, we have to increase our hard disk, obviously, right? So that includes the cost factor, right? So now let's say if 500 GB laptop cost 40,000, your 1 TB laptop cost 80,000, right? So now that includes the cost factor. So now even if you say 1 TB is also done, tomorrow you want to grow to 2 TB or 3 TB or 10 TB. So obviously that includes the cost factor, right? So it is like you're trying to scale up from 1 TB to 500 GB to 1 TB, 1 to 2, 3, 4 TB, something like that. You're trying to scale up, right? So we have a feature of scaling horizontally. Now let's say I have 10 laptops, each having 1 TB of data. If I connect them together, I have 10 TB of data and each having 4 GB of RAM. Now let's say you have 40 GB of RAM, right? So when you scaling up, it includes a lot of cost. When you are scaling horizontally, you are trying to mitigate your cost. So that is the reason your Hadoop distributed file systems, being be it Cloudera or Hadoop or be it Hortonworks, and all these distributed file systems came into picture. So now we are trying to save in all these distributed save our data in these distributed file systems for our analysis purpose. Okay, so we are slowly moving towards saving the data in a bigger way. So they call the word called a big data. So we have to understand how big the data is now, right? So based on your requirement, you keep on adding your systems horizontally so that not too much of cost is being incurred on you, right? So our Hadoop system came into existence, right? So then after all these things, so now all that being said, right? So we have traveled a lot of distance. So we have started from databases, we have seen RDBMS, we have seen NoSQLs, we have seen importance of data warehouses, right? ETL tools, visualization tools like Tableau. So we have other visualization tools like Microsoft Power BI or Google Data Studio, Cognos, IBM Cognos, right? So we have all these data tools, reporting tools, right? Visualization tools we call, right? So we have Hadoop. So we have learned about Hadoop, importance of Hadoop, why Hadoop came into picture, and all these things. So now there is a lot of scope in being a developer or being an administrator, right? In all these technologies. So you can learn ETLs, you can learn big data, you can learn RDBMS, so you can learn NoSQLs, right? So each job has got its own significance and importance, right? So then taking all these things into factor, what you are trying to make at the end of the day is analysis, right? I want to take a call. I want to grow up my business, like, right? So in which category I can choose, how, right? So here comes your data science. So here comes your data science algorithms, which actually predict something using your machine learning algorithms like logistic regression or or k-means bias or linear regression and all these machine learning algorithms. So you choose something and you analyze using a particular algorithms, and you want to, because you want to take a call, right? So whether this particular person is a fraud or not. Now let's say I, as a credit card company, I want to see whether this particular user will be a defaulter in my next month or not, right? So we based on his earlier transactions, I can take a call saying, oh, okay, this person is going to be my defaulter next month. So I have to keep on reminding him many times, right? So based on your historical data, you will send the notification saying, to mitigate the danger for your business. Now the same is the business will change in coming years. So based on your past data, you want to choose, if you want to identify a face. Now let's say you show something to your system, you feed something to your system, and it will tell you whether that is a human face, a cat's face, or a monkey's face and all, right? So based on what? So based on your past analysis, you prepare the algorithm. You say that, boss, if your face is like this, your size is like this, and your eyes gaps are like this, you have a nose here. For humans it is different, the distance between eyes, right? So all these things matters. You train your algorithm with all this kind of data which is already there with you. You train your algorithm, and your algorithm chooses. When you give a test sample, your algorithm says whether that is a human face or whether it's a cat's face or monkey's face or whether this particular transaction is a fraud transaction, right? So even we have in some intelligence systems, right? So when you call to a bank to reset your password, right? Now let's say I am a legal user of my account A1. Okay. Now let's say if someone else is trying to call my customer care who knows my card number and account number and try to ask them to reset my password, right? So there is an option, obviously, right? So the system analyzes whether you are a fraudster or not based on your vocal vibrations. Based on your vocal vibrations, it says, oh, this person is this person might be a fraudster. So you have to answer, you have to question him in more detailed way. So then the customer care person will ask you your personal details when you have given, when you are creating your bank account. What is your first name? What is your last name? What is your first school? Right? So what is your date of birth? What is your first phone number? All these things they try to capture. The bank accounts try to capture all these things, right? So those that have a reason. So why they take our personal data? So that have a reason, right? So our system has grown enormously intelligent. For everything we need data. So we have to understand, right, or try to understand all these technologies. We have to master or we have to learn, right? So taking our future into consideration. So where we have to start, where and what is my interest and what is my aspiration. So for that, how should I move, in which technology I have to move, right? So you have a lot of scope with respect to data, right? So on a nutshell, right? So I just want to wind up in another 5 minutes. In a nutshell, so we have seen what databases are, right? So what can be done by using data, okay? So we have seen the relational databases, how the data will be stored in relational databases, okay? What is NoSQLs? What is the advantage of NoSQLs? Okay, what are the disadvantages of RDBMS? What are the disadvantages of NoSQLs? Okay, so we have seen them. So then we have learned about different kind of ETL tools or data warehouse concepts we have seen, right? So we have understood what exactly the ETL tools are and what are the different kind of ETL tools available in market, right? So then we have learned about our visualization tools. So we have seen an example using Tableau, right? So we have different BI tools, they call business intelligence tools, the Power BI or Google Data Studio or Cognos. Okay, so you do a lot of stuff there using, you generate reports for your higher managements, okay, to make them take decisions intelligently, right? And then you track all this data. We have understood what the HDFS are and what does Hadoop is for and why Hadoop came into picture, right? And then we have understood the what exactly you can do using your machine learning algorithms, right? So there are different kinds of for you to master in order to have been a data scientist or machine learning experts. You have to learn calculus. You should know your algebra, statistics, right? So your linear regressions or logistic regressions algorithms, right? So they all starts under a simple formula, right? Y is equal to mx plus c, they call for a linear regression, and whether there is a linear relation exists between them or not. Y is equal to mx plus c. So y is your unknown variable, and you try to understand your unknown variable. So based on the existing data, which is x, right? So the basic starts there with your linear algebra, y is equal to mx plus c. So then you take your data in the form of that. You take the data in form of matrices and you do some multiplications, m into x. What is the slope? You will understand x is your data in the form of matrix. Now you will add some determinant to that to figure out the unknown factor, right? So you have to be strong at fundamentals though, right? So in order to be a data scientist, you have to understand all these concepts, okay? So we have traveled a lot of distance in data, guys. So that's all I have. So if you have any open questions, yes, we can definitely take them. Any questions, guys? All right then. That's all I have, sir.
Hello, Santosh.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Santosh.
Yeah, welcome, sir. It's a pleasure for me to interact with all you people.
Yes, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions. You can type in the chat box, or you can raise your hand so that I can unmute you.
I hope I have not disappointed you guys early in the morning.